Hey, welcome back to this week's The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles. I'm your host, Kevin Riles. This week's topic, as we close out Motivational March, scarcity mentality. The scarcity mentality. What is the scarcity mentality? Is there a problem with having a scarcity mentality? And by the way, yes, it is. But more on the other side of this break. DJ, hit the music, please.
Support for this program comes from the Digital Broadcasting Network, presenting podcasts and web series from everyday people who have an extraordinary passion to make the world a better place.
Hey, welcome back to The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles. This is your host, Kevin Riles. I want to thank you guys out there that have been listening to this month of Motivational March, where I kind of went off real estate topics for a little while, just because as the spring, in fact, the other day, this is March, the end of March, the other day was the first day of spring. And when I think of spring, I think of new beginnings and the flowers blooming and plants green starting to come back. And so I thought March would be a good time to just kind of get motivated as we get into this year on your real estate topics and just kind of get motivated in life. And again, the real estate of life talks about life. And I know I have fans out there that, hey man, can you get back to the real estate? Well, we're getting back to the real estate starting next week, but I wanted to kind of finish this month out on something that I have witnessed and is a philosophy of mine. And I want to help people out there that either may have an issue with this or, like me, recognize it in other people. And that is the concept of the scarcity mentality. Scarcity, right? Scarcity. So when I was in graduate school, I have an MBA in finance. I was taking an graduate level econ course. And I remember distinctly, and I don't remember a lot from that MBA as far as sitting in class, but this particular class, I can remember where I was sitting. I can remember the professor, the economics professor, and we spent a whole class on the concept of scarcity as an economic principle. And so I'm going to read the definition, but then talk about it as I want to talk about it today. Scarcity is the economic principle in which a limited supply of a good coupled with high demand for that good results in a mismatch between the desired supply and the demand equilibrium, right? Sounds very official. Basically, when there's limited resources of a particular good and there's high demand for that good, then typically, if you remember your old supply and demand curve in econ, the prices go up because there's limited goods for that particular product. And so what does that have to do with real estate? What did it have to do with Motivational March? Well, I remember sitting there thinking, and that's why I remember that class, man, that's interesting. Scarcity. And I started thinking about how people think about their lives and think about the goods and services of their lives, and started to think and come up with this kind of axiom that most people operate on a scarcity mentality. A scarcity mentality. What do I mean by a scarcity mentality? A scarcity mentality is when you look at life and you look at your life and things around your life and you assume that they are limited. You assume that the amount of income you make is limited. You assume if you're in real estate that there are only so many deals out there. If you're a real estate broker, that there are so many agents and you're competing against those particular agents. And so when we operate in a scarcity mentality, we tend to operate different. And the reason we do is because, oh my God, there's only a few of these. I better get it now. One of the best examples of this is, have you gone to a grocery store lately? Just any grocery store. Grocery store on a Saturday when everybody's getting their groceries. How many people stop and allow you to pass to get to the meat? Or how many people stop and allow you pass to get to the eggs? When I go into the grocery stores, which is, my wife would say, very few times, but I do go, it is amazing to me that the common decency of allowing someone to pass or allowing someone to get to a section is not there anymore. People don't stop and allow for what I consider, one, manners, but two, there's an assumption, I better get to that meat section first, or I better get to the egg section first, and they cut each other off. Excuse me. They cut each other off. They allow for people to get upset with each other and things of that nature. And so from a practical standpoint, I just don't understand it. And I started realizing one day that my principle of scarcity is best exemplified, or one of the best ways to exemplify this is when you're at the store or when you're at any opportunity, like for instance, you go to a Rockets game or a football game and people are starting to line up and people are walking fast, or when you go to a restaurant and people are getting out of their car and you see someone else getting out of their car before you, and so they start walking fast and so they can get their seats first, and you know, a lot of times the restaurant is empty. And so maybe it is me and my personality where I think that, hey, I want everybody to win. I want everybody to have an opportunity to get that seat at the restaurant. Or, hey, you know what? Go ahead, get your meat first. There's plenty of hamburger patties in the meat section. But it just seems that as a society, we are operating as a scarce, like goods and resources are scarce. And when it comes down to real estate, specifically in the practice of real estate, it seems that people assume there are only so many houses to buy. There are only so many apartments to buy. There are only so much opportunity out there. And in Houston specifically, we live in the fourth largest city in America that is continuously growing. We're fastly on our way to the third largest city in the United States, right? So it doesn't make sense, the facts of how large our city is versus people thinking that there's limited resources. There's limited resources. And so there are people out there, sometimes unbeknownst to themselves, that have a scarcity mentality. And when you have a scarcity mentality, you're uber competitive. You can act in immoral or unethical ways. And you can just not be a great person, right? Not be a great person. And so as you think about the limited resources, as far as that economic principle is concerned, when you think the world has limited resources, you tend to act in a way that says, I'm going to get those resources before everybody else. And when you act in that way, you tend to do things that you might not normally do. And so why is this important? Why did I want to talk about this to close out Motivational March? Because ultimately, I really want to talk about changing your mind or changing those folks' mind, or you helping someone else to change their philosophy and start thinking about having an abundant mentality, abundance, thinking of in life that there's more than in life than what I need. In other words, there are more resources out there. There are more properties out there. There are more significant others out there for those of you that are single. Whatever the case may be, there's more of it. Because how do we act when we know that there is more? We calm down. We really calm down. We calm down. Oh, there's plenty of that. I don't need to be run to the grocery store and oh my God. One of the other good examples of scarcity mentality, which to a point is somewhat true, is go to the grocery store when there's a hurricane warning in Houston and try to get some water. You will see Darwinism at its highest and finest. In the suburbs, inside the loop, in the hood, didn't matter, right? You will see Darwin. I've witnessed it multiple times. We've had, 3 major storms in Houston in the last, say, 10 to 15 years. And Ozarka could make a gazillion dollars if they allowed for people to hike up prices. But you see this, oh my God, what? And the exception becomes, I remember this being on the news where a guy went to Home Depot to buy a generator because the storm was coming. This was before Hurricane Harvey. And the demand and so many people were there to buy generators that he literally got there and had his generator in his basket, and a lady came and she just bust out crying because she couldn't get a generator. And he was like, "Are you okay?" It's like, "Yeah, I was trying to get a generator. My grandmother's at home taking care of my grandmother. I have kids. You know, our AC's out. Just all this kind of stuff." And so he gave up his generator for that lady, who was able to then go and take that generator and power her home during the storm. And so that made news. And why did it make news? Which is great. I'm glad it made the news. It's because it's outside of the norm. People don't do that stuff anymore because, again, we have a scarcity mentality. But I believe that particular guy had an abundant mentality. Hey, I need a generator, but I'm good. This lady needs it more than I do, so let me give it to her. Let me give it to her. And if I remember correctly, even paid for it for her. So I say all of that to say that just think how life would be if you woke up in the morning and thought, man, there's so much opportunity out there. There's so many things I can do. There's so many real estate properties I can purchase. For those practicing brokers, there's so many potential clients out there. For those in your life, there's so many things out there. It just automatically calms you down. And by the way, this is not some great theorem out there about abundance. It is actually true. It is actually true. There are more opportunities out there for you guys. There are more. Just think about technology. Just think about all the things that are in our lives that there are more of. They're just more. There's more, and I'm going to sound emotional. There's more love out there for you. There's more of everything. And it's really true. It's not something I'm just saying. If you really think about how many opportunities you have in life, in your career, in your relationships, in all aspects in your health, in all aspects of our life, we really need to be thinking about abundance. It concerns me that, and the reason I wanted to close out this month with this, it concerns me that we are constantly thinking that it is not enough. And a part of that is our society, the advertising that we get all the time as to, hey, you better buy it now. You better come now. And if you call right now, I want it now. So we're kind of been brainwashed, honestly, to think that there's scarcity, but honestly, there is not. And so when we start applying that economic principle to our lives, we get into problems. And, not to get too preachy, but God has provided for way more than enough for us to be able to all be successful. And the biggest part of the scarcity mentality is that, and to me, the most sick part of it can be, I feel that if you are successful, then I cannot be successful. When we look at people and look at them and say, I can't cheer for them winning because I want to win, right? Because there's only so much winning out there. That's the best example I can give you. I can't cheer for you to have a good day or have a good week or make a lot of money because I want to have a good day, have a good week, and make a lot of money. And there's only so much day, money, and week available. That's nonsense. We live in the richest country in the world. There's enough wealth out there for everyone. So just because you or someone has made it does not mean that you can't make it as well. And you can apply that context to anything. So as we end this motivational march, have an abundance mentality. Think about I sound like Joel Osteen, I think, right now, Mr. Producer. But because he talks about this, and people wonder why. I'm going to digress for one quick second because guess what? It's my podcast. People wonder why Joel Osteen's church, which used to be the Summit, is full every Sunday, really every Saturday and Sunday and Wednesdays for that matter. They wonder why he's not a theologian. He's very quiet spoken. He's not a fire and brimstone pastor. And I honestly believe when I watch him, he's my church when I don't go to church. That's my TV church, I call it. So I go to Lakewood on the TV. And I honestly believe he's talked about it. He has an abundance mentality. That he's not fighting like some ministers fight over parishioners. Like, you need to come to my church versus the other church, or my church is better. He is just there saying, hey, it's a plenty for everybody. As long as you're doing good, I'm doing good. And so some pastors call him a motivational speaker instead of a pastor. Hey, whatever he's doing, it's working not only for his church, but it's also working for those people. There are millions of people where lives he's changed. And this is not a testimony for you to go to Lakewood or watch Lakewood on TV, but it is a testimony in watching what I consider an abundance mentality at work. And he doesn't really care about what people have to say. And so I admire that about him. I admire the fact that he feels that God has given us way more than we can even handle, and I'm gonna just worry about what I can worry about in front of me. I'm not gonna worry about what another pastor does or this, that, and the other. And so that to me is the best example, the highest and best example of that you could find of an abundance mentality. So as we enter April, I want you all out there to think about, how can I have an abundance mentality as I build wealth in 2018. Because remember, that's our theme this year. We're building wealth, right? And you cannot go into a building wealth mindset where you're thinking that, oh, there's only so much wealth I can build, or, oh, I have to compete against someone else as they're trying to do something else. No, it's plenty of ways in real estate specifically to make money. Plenty of ways. We've talked about them in previous podcasts. Everything from bird dogging and wholesaling properties to purchasing multifamily to all the things that are out there. They're practicing as a real estate broker and agent. There's all kinds of ways to make real estate. So just because someone else is doing something and doing it well, don't be jealous of them. Be happy for them. Be happy for them, and be happy the fact that they may be providing you with a roadmap or a blueprint as to how you should build wealth. All right. So I'm going to end this. It's not a long podcast today, but I wanted to end with just encouraging people, have an abundance mentality. Have an abundance mentality. Just think about all the things that are opportunities out there. And if you're having a problem with that, which is okay, this is not judgmental. If you're having a problem with having an abundance mentality, then what I would encourage you to do is sometimes just sit back and think about your particular situation in your particular life, and honestly compare it to someone that doesn't have as much as you. What we tend to do is we compare to people that have more or have the thing that we want, right? But think about all the people that don't have what you want. And that might be difficult. I have had 2 family members here very sick in the last couple of weeks since I've been spending a lot of time visiting hospitals. My father-in-law just had quadruple bypass surgery 2 weeks ago, and I was there the day of the surgery or the night of the surgery. And if you ever want to get perspective in life and have an abundant mentality or have a reminder, sit in a waiting room in the heart section of a hospital where people are having bypass and having surgeries, and it's like 10 families in there, all on pins and needles, worried whether their person is going to come out or not, right? That will give you more perspective on not only on real estate, but on life in general, that, oh my God, I'm sitting tripping about that I didn't get a certain deal, or that my food was late or not hot at a restaurant, or a person was late to a meeting. And this is literally life or death. Right? Literally life or death. So if you ever want to get perspective, and if you're having issues with having an abundance mentality, because some of us are just kind of naturally competitive, and so that scarcity just kind of is in us. But I promise you, as my grandmother used to say, you get more bees with honey than vinegar. And the honey is abundance. The honey is abundance. So with that being said, next month we're back to real estate. Got some good surprises for you. So I cannot wait to talk to you next week. This has been the Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles. I'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for listening as always. Do you have questions about any of the topics I'm talking about? If you have questions, let me know. Email me at kevin@kevinriles.com. Again, that's kevin@kevinriles.com. I'm going to do a podcast just on the questions that you guys are sending me. So feel free to send them to me. Again, that's kevin@kevinriles.com.